realized that when I showed you earlier, it was during the pop-up, Inside the Rise of Keto, how an extreme diet went mainstream. And this is going to be all backwards. Good morning, Mandy. But this is why I think that what I do is in part very valuable. I am not a qualified health professional, okay? We go through this all the time. I'm not a doctor, talk to your doctor. But I have a pretty good bullshit detector. And starting right here, meet the bodybuilders, biohackers, scientists, doctors, and hucksters behind the buzziest thing in nutrition. All right, and this is in Men's Health, which I know it's a rag, right? It's a magazine, you know, but I think Michael Easter, the author of this article, might take offense to me calling Men's Health a rag. It's a notorious magazine, and so this is the type of thing. It came out January 10th, right? So a few days ago. People are going to send this to you. If people know you're doing keto, you're going to get this article, right? And people are going to be like, what's with the, right? And it starts off with one of those anecdotals, right? Grayson Lopez, he was in the army. They told him to lose weight. He found keto on Reddit, you know. So anytime we're going to talk about a factual subject in these articles, they like to weave together a little like narrative plot line. So at the end, they can wrap it up in like, it may be working for Mr. Lopez and I wish him the best, but this new blah, 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 right? So, but we get into the weeds right away. Morning, Janice. First, you eat very limited carbs, he says. Low carb isn't radical, but ketogenic is ultra low, less than 50 grams a day. So we're like on the right track in theory. Hey, Tanya. So fruit is mostly a no, and you strictly cap vegetables. Yes, vegetables. I know right now I'm done with this guy. Like, I don't need to go any further. The next paragraph gets worse, okay? But 50 grams a day, only part of that he got right. We've talked about fruits and vegetables, but a lot of you haven't seen all of my videos, and I ramble for hours, so God knows if you've seen them through to the end. But fruits and vegetables are, like, not entirely arbitrary, but they're, you know, one part botany, and like technically is it a seed body, or is it a leaf, or is it a stem, you know, is it a root, you know, so there's definitely the anatomical part of the plant that the thing that you're eating is, and that can qualify whether what you're eating is a vegetable or a fruit, right? But as far as like the nutritional composition of a fruit or a vegetable, they all contain different micronutrients. They don't contain the same micronutrients. Some of them are higher in carbs, some of them have fats, some of them contain proteins. Oh, Mally's gonna visit. Mally, sit. There she is. She's beautiful. She came to visit. But they all contain micronutrients. They all contain some degree of carbohydrates and so forth. But strictly cap vegetables. Do you have any idea how much baby spinach you can eat on keto? How much broccoli you can eat on keto? How much cauliflower you can eat on keto? We're talking like uncomfortably large amounts. Like on the stall breaker plan where you're eating other stuff, you're eating like 3 ounces of mushrooms on top of 5 ounces of baby spinach, and on top of 7 cups of broccoli, all in one day. So I don't know how strictly you're limiting vegetables, and I mean, we're talking about some vegetables. I think my dog needs to go out. I'll be right back. Now, you wanna go out? Go on, go on. So like, vegetables. What vegetables are we talking about here? You strictly limit vegetables. Is the American diet short on corn? Is that what Men's Health is trying to tell me? That we should be eating more corn? Is he shedding tears for the organic carrot farmers of America? Like, call me if we get a vitamin A deficiency. I do miss, like, I'm Irish, I miss potatoes, but I don't think potatoes is going to solve the American health crisis nor the diabetic crisis, right? So I miss sweet potatoes, honestly. And root vegetables can be healthy in the context of some people's diets. But we're talking about like every leafy green in the world. Can you eat kale? Sure. Can you eat spinach? Sure. Can you eat romaine or arugula or spring mix? Sure. Can you eat all of the mushrooms? Sure. Can you, you know? And so this guy's over here, you strictly cap vegetables. Yes, vegetables. No, like potatoes and like carrots and corn. Like most of the other vegetables are fine. And fruit can be, again, eating the script, fine, in small amounts, just not giant piles of fruit. So if one wanted to have, say, half a peach a day, they probably could manage it. All right, so paragraph 1, Mr. Easter's not doing well. Next, you're limited to 100 grams a day, at most, of protein. Okay, protein's a target, not a limit. I advise women to start at 80. A 5'8" woman should be eating 100. God forbid that she runs 5Ks or she's in CrossFit, then she's at 120. God forbid you're me. I'm at 140. What is he talking about 100 grams a day? Listen, people, I don't have to argue with this dude, right? Like, it's not a matter of opinion. You look up studies on the ketogenic diet, and they're going to say basically that it comes down to the literal definition of ketogenic diet, a prescriptive way of eating that will induce ketosis, which is any way that induces ketosis. So, for example, let's say that you ate 50 grams a day of Cheetos and drank olive oil, and that's it. That's a ketogenic diet. Okay, you'll probably be in ketosis. I'm not recommending the Cheetos olive oil diet, but that's the problem when we come to talking about ketogenic diets. Technically, starvation is a ketogenic diet, except it lacks actual eating. So if I gave you like 1 grain of rice every day, that would be like lower than your net carbs, and it would induce ketosis, and it's food you were eating regularly, and it would be a ketogenic diet. So technically, 1 grain of rice per day is a ketogenic diet. So I cannot defend all ketogenic diets because some ketogenic diets are dumb. Don't eat 1 grain of rice every day. Alternatively, don't take 1 teaspoon of olive oil per day and starve. That's a ketogenic diet. It's not a good idea, but it's a ketogenic diet, right? So this whole limited to 100 grams per day of protein. I know lots of people in ketosis that have more than 100 grams of protein. Therefore, many ketogenic diets are not limited to 100 grams of protein, at most, of protein. And he says that muscle building nutrient embraced by nearly every other diet. It's embraced by this diet, especially when you're losing weight. You want to hit your protein. It's a goal. It's the first thing I talk about. Protein and fiber are the 2 most satiating ingredients of the composition of a daily diet, right? So where are you going to get your fiber? Primarily these vegetables he claims are so strictly limited. Well, if you're following this KetoDick, eat your goddamn vegetables. And again, my keto is nothing other than the authentic scientific if it helps you get into ketosis. And again, I think ketosis is not the goal. I think low carb is the goal. And ketosis is like a nice energy benefit, and it helps with hunger a lot, right? So keto is awesome. And if you can get into ketosis, you might feel better, have a good day, feel energetic, have less appetite, find that adhering to your calorie restrictions is easier. But metabolic flexibility and low carbohydrate are good enough for me, right? So I don't know what this guy is talking about. What's left? Fat, lots of it. Marbled steak, oily fish, yolky eggs, streaky bacon. Top it all with butter, olive oil, and lard. A classic keto diet consists of 90% calories from fat, 6% protein, and 4% from carbs. The diet is indeed a giant FU to the food pyramid. Oh. So it's an FU to the food pyramid. Please, Michael Easter, defend the food pyramid. Tell me that you're still on the food pyramid. Tell me you think I need 6 to 11 servings per day of grains, rice, bread, and pasta. I was in school back then, right? Like, don't, no. What, please tell me what are the common macronutrient deficiencies or micronutrient deficiencies that are addressed by dry pasta. I'll wait. Then tell me what percentage of Americans are either pre-diabetic or diabetic. Then explain to me whether or not pre-diabetics and diabetics should be adding starchy carbohydrates like bread, rice, grains, and pasta 6 to 11 servings per day to their food. Okay, Michael Easter, food pyramid's all yours, buddy. You draw your line at the food pyramid. I'm done with you, right? Okay, so is he right about this? He's going 6% protein, 4% carbs, so there are 10 to 1 formulations. Again, the definition of a ketogenic diet is literally any combination of foods that leads you into ketosis. Are there certain formulations that are that stilted? There have been. That's typically a medical ketosis. That's typically for somebody in epilepsy. That's not typically a nutritional or weight loss ketosis. So again, we have an author misrepresenting the truth slightly here, but definitely picking the most extreme variant of a diet that's intended for medical application, not everyday or weight loss application. So he goes to that one. As for fat, lots of it: marbled steak, oily fish, yolky eggs, streaky bacon. Once you're at maintenance, and certainly if you're talking like to a men's health author, maybe he's talking to people that do CrossFit and 5Ks and run marathons, are generally more active, let's say 3 to 5 hours a week of intense activity, right? And if that's true, and then you're my size and you're male, you know, then you're looking at calories might be around 3,000 while still protein's only like 140. So at 140 times 4, you know, that's 400 plus 160. So we're looking at 560 calories from protein, and I might need 2,500 to 3,000. So I, you know, and carbohydrates are going to represent 20, you know, 20 grams times 4, you know, is 80 and 50, but, you know, most of that should be indigestible fiber. So it's really 20. Well, let's say 50, that's another 200. That's 700 calories out of my 3,500 to 3,000. So I got, 2,300 calories of fat that I need to include in that. So at maintenance, when I already have a low body fat percentage and I'm competing in athletics, then it becomes higher fat. Now, as far as what fats, I like that a men's health author says top it all off with butter, olive oil, and lard. Now, olive oil is a fairly fixed fatty acid nutrient profile. So when you think about the fatty acids in olive oil, you have a pretty consistent like blend of fatty acids, and you're looking at mostly monounsaturated fatty acids, right? Which are the best for you. When he says butter and lard and just throws those out there like those are fixed targets, he's completely ignoring grass-fed and the source of the lard. I mean, when he says lard, he's not even acknowledging what animal that came from. I mean, I would assume that that means pork, as beef would be like maybe tallow, but people will say beef lard. So what was that pig eating? How did that pig live its life? Was that a grass-fed cow or a grass-finished cow? And they're different. So, you know, so he's referencing the food pyramid. He's going with the most extreme version of a ketogenic diet. He's wrong about protein, and he's getting all weirded out by fat when mostly when I'm telling people about the weight loss phase, we're talking about low calorie, low fat, white fish, chicken, tuna kind of proteins. He's way off. He said, but Lopez's friend said the diet was science-based. The absence of carbs, the abundance of fat, it pushes your body, biological state called ketosis, fat instead of glucose, blah, blah, blah. Then he talks about Joe Rogan, a college dropout and self-described silly bitch. You know, the characterization here is just adorable for somebody who just referenced the food pyramid and completely neglected the composition of the fatty acids of the lard and the butter you choose to eat, but whatever. Then he's going to disparage Dom D'Agostino, researcher in physiology. Let me skip over some stuff. I don't want to read his whole article and stuff, but he says he threw out all my carb-heavy foods like ramen and hot pockets and grabbed as much bacon and grass-fed butter and steaks as I could, were the direct quotes. Now, this is the more truthful thing about keto, that when we're talking about people getting carbs off their plates, we're not usually talking about organically raised heritage yams that they were grilling. We're talking about people throwing out their ramen in their hot pockets. And that works for people? Not eating hot pockets? You don't say. Is anyone out there, if you're in the audience, can you comment below if you've been suffering the symptoms of a ramen deficiency? If you have hot pocketitis, right? Like from your hot pocket deficiencies. Like, okay, so, and then he references in the quote, grass-fed butter, because it does matter as far as your fatty acid nutrient profile if we're going to talk not about weight loss or ketosis, but general health, right? So what makes a fad diet? Blah, blah, blah. Most diets start with unhappiness, dissatisfaction, blame something, blame carbs, and then it goes with keto. You just do what your mom and doctor told you not to do. Eat the fat and skip the veggies. Nobody's saying skip the veggies, at least nobody intelligent, right? I'm telling you, eat the veggies. Get lots of fiber, okay? Big piles of veggies, green ones primarily, not starchy root. So we're talking about starchy root tubers primarily, and seeds. So like if you read Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan, he says eat plants, mostly leaves, right? Less seeds. We're a seed-based economy. We eat nuts, peanuts, and soybeans and corn. We're eating the seeds of these plants. And he's saying that the best thing that he can say about the human diet is that we should eat more leafy greens and more plants in general. All of that's cool with keto. A healthy keto, go for it. Like, don't listen to this Men's Health article that you've got to deal with. Now, while this partly explains keto's rise, it overlooks a critical aspect. The keto diet, it turns out, wasn't engineered for weight loss. No, it was engineered for epilepsy. Good for you. Fasting has been used for epilepsy since 500 BC, which points out that like also ketosis has been used since 500 BC. You know? So like your friend that's like, oh, that fad new diet that's going to kill you, it's only been around since 500 BC. Again, just apply a little bit of logic. I'm not a qualified medical professional, but Jesus Christ, if you're going to write for Men's Health, take your job moderately seriously. And I swear to God, some of you guys are going to get tagged on this article or somebody's going to post it to your wall. If you don't find this link and share this video and just let me take down your friend's entire article piece by piece so that you don't have to say anything. Just say, watch that video. The guy is going to cover your article and see what you can argue with about what he says, because what I'm saying is indefensible. Like it's factual, it's clear, and it makes sense. He goes, all right, so anyways, you store about 2,000 calories worth of sugars in your liver and muscles. He's talking about glycogen. Your body burns through that in about 48 hours. Evolutionary survival mechanism kicks in. Survival mechanism, I mean, I guess, but it's just called winter for like thousands of years. For anybody, especially like white Europeans, like the reason that we were able to migrate out of tropical zones that had year-round fruits and starchy tubers was because we were able to live off fats and proteins, that we were able to take cattle up with us and they would store the energy from the bounty of the summer inside the cattle, and we would drink their milk or kill them and slaughter them and preserve their meat and fat to sustain us throughout the winter. So anybody that has like a pale complexion from being outside of the tropical zone is especially adapted to ketogenic diets, unless you're, genetic variation aside, but in general, that's what they're finding. So your body switches to store to fat, blah, 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 ketones, millimoles. Then he goes into the doctors that are the background, treating people on epilepsy. Then he talks about Atkins from 72. Then he talked about Stephen Phinney, an MIT-trained nutritional biochemist who began researching this way of eating for endurance sports, right? So, again, I'm talking about the Men's Health article published by Mr. Easter here, about the ketogenic diet. So he does a whole bunch of takedowns here where he talks about the background and trustworthiness of the various people, associated with this, but it's beyond individuals. At this point, the research is out there. It's been published in credentialed journals. This is the way the human physiology works. Like, it doesn't matter. I've told people before, a crazy man can say the sky is blue and that he's the Queen of England. And his craziness has no bearing on the veracity of either statement. The sky is blue. He's not the Queen of England. He was 1 for 2 on that. But you can't say, oh, the sky must be some other color because he's crazy, right? So he goes, the last chance diet, and they try to sell shakes. And then Phinney said basically that people wouldn't have problems if they get their necessary vitamins and minerals. You guys have been watching my channel, and I ever tell you to take a vitamin? I mean, it's common sense. Yes, you need complete nutrition. But quite frankly, people eating at McDonald's weren't getting complete nutrition anyway, so let's just hold how critical we're being. Anyways, he said that for a while ketosis went all away, and Phinney forged on, making it sound like, he's irresponsible. He's a nutritional researcher working in a medical lab. He doesn't even care if it's a good idea for a diet. He's just trying to understand the mechanisms of physiology and biology and what works. Right? And so then there was OptiFast, and you had Oprah Winfrey and her wagon of fat. Remember the wagon of fat? You guys see that? I think you can. The wagon of fat that she lost, which, again, I think Oprah could have kept the weight off. And if she wants to be the size that she is now, that's fine. But I think Oprah and people like that keeping the weight off has more to do with self-identity than it does how they eat, or that the body has some sort. There's no evidence, there's no research that supports that your body was meant to be a certain weight, that certain people were meant to be heavy, that that's just their body type. Nobody's body type is heavy. Some people choose to be heavy. Some people have self-imposed the vision of themselves as a heavy person. And I do it to myself, but nobody's meant to be heavy. So anyways, then he goes into, 2-time felon, promoted the diet, then Atkins in the 2000s. The scaling up of keto starts with, again, this is all narrative background, doesn't have anything to do. Then he craps on Tim Ferriss a little bit, and I'll crap on Tim Ferriss because, he's a hype man for just in general motivation. He's a hype man. That's fine. Then they talk about Peter Attia and how the longevity looks at keto's positive impact on triglycerides, cholesterol, and blood glucose levels. So here's that thing that we have to take in. The correlations between consumed cholesterol and blood levels of cholesterol are falling away. So the body produces cholesterol on its own from other things. So it's not necessarily cholesterol into the body means cholesterol into the blood. And they're finding that that relationship is looser than they had previously assumed, first of all. Second of all, what they're looking at as far as cholesterol, whether they're talking about the number of particles, the size of those particles, or the overall concentration of those particles in the blood, and which of those things tend to be actual cardiovascular risk factor predictors. Because keep in mind, nobody dies of high cholesterol. Cholesterol is a predictor of adverse cardiac events. But which cardiovascular number we look at, triglycerides or LDL-C, or LDL total, those things, or ratios of LDL to HDL, or HDL to total triglycerides. So each of those are a number, again, that we're making up that we can say, well, this formula better predicts cardiovascular health risks than other formulas. Again, not a doctor, not licensed to say any of this. Look it up on your own. But this guy goes off into more of his narrative about keto popularity increasing. Who cares if it's popular or not? Like, something being popular doesn't discredit it, right? Like, people were really into Celine Dion. She has a really good vocal range. So did Whitney Houston. She was on crack. She still had a really good vocal range. You can't just say, like, people think Whitney Houston was a great singer, but little did you know she's just a crackhead. No, she's a great singer and a crackhead, right? Anyways, so keto's other benefits: reduced hunger and increased focus. Stoke the biohacker bros. Keto does control hunger, says like their guy that they bring in to debunk it. Yes, thank you. That's all I'm talking about. You're trying to lose weight. What do you want to do? Control the hunger. Why is keto good? Because it does that. That's all. The increased mental focus, if you want, I like it a little bit. I'm not trying to say like, you know, that it's like being on Adderall. It's not. It's just, and then listen, carbs and fat together stimulate dopamine release in the brain that activates motivational circuits that drive us to eat. Blah, blah, blah. Any effect is probably due to eating less junk food, which can cause a blood sugar roller coaster effect and impact mood. Oh, junk food. You mean like eating a potato, which will do the same thing. Or a carrot. Anybody that monitors their insulin level knows that a carrot is perhaps more dangerous to your blood sugar levels than a Snickers bar. So he's saying that any effect, probably due to the fact that you're not on a blood glucose roller coaster. Yes, that's the point. What do you mean? This whole paragraph, he's like, keto controls hunger, and you're probably in a better mood and can pay attention and shit because you're not on a blood sugar roller coaster. Yes. Yes, that's it. That's literally it. It helps you control and eat your vegetables. Like, However, there are people for whom keto does deliver unique benefits. Type 2 diabetics. What did I say earlier about the percentage of the country that's either pre-diabetic or diabetic? It also has benefit for type 1 diabetics. So really we're talking about like, it's only relevant for like a third to 2/3 of the country, depending on where you're starting counting. Just people that have problems with their blood sugar, which is like all of America, like 200 million people, plus or minus 100 million, right? Like who needs that, right? And then he talks about internet telephone effect, claims for keto became grander. You know, okay, ignore the claims then. Like, it helps control your hunger. You're in less of a shitty mood because you have level appetite. That's what it does. It helps you lose weight. Calm down. You know, Ferris, survival, growth, glucose, insulin. Starts talking about slowing the progression of some listen, some cancer is glucose obligate. Some tumors aren't metabolically flexible, just like some microbes in your gut aren't metabolically flexible. So as it turns out, restricting glucose availability restricts the growth of tumors that grow utilizing glucose, which if you want means keto cures some types of cancer. It doesn't mean that at all. I'm not an oncologist. Don't go treating your cancer with keto. It also, if you fast long enough, there's some autophagy processes that are known to reduce the incidence of precancerous cells. So it might be good for you. Again, don't go treating your cancer, but like these are just positive side effect, notable things from the research that I guess now we're going to say somebody said keto cures cancer, so therefore it must be a fad and keto's terrible. I get it. Keto thrives in a vortex of social media. The audacity of this bitch to say that shit after an article this misinformed from Men's Fucking Health. You're a goddamn author. This is gonna be the vortex of social media. This is you. This is your fault right now. You are the goddamn vortex of social media. I'm social media responding to how misinformed and generally idiotic. If you told Dom D'Agostino or Stephen Finney, hey, I'm going to put your name in an article in Men's Health, would you want to give me some background about the actual scientific facts of this diet? They would have filled you in, but your ignorant asses stated shit like 20 times. We're like 10 paragraphs in. You're a professional goddamn author. You get paid for a living to do this. The fact that you would mock me for being a health coach just because I write down things that people tell me and ask them a week later, hey, have you done those things? If not, why not? And how can we solve those problems? Like, maybe if you don't have time to get food prepped, you need to go buy a rotisserie chicken. I should need some professional credentials to do that shit. Meanwhile, you're over here writing articles for Men's Health. You can't even get right what a ketogenic diet is. It's any combination of foods that induce a state of ketosis, which is primarily carbohydrate restriction. Has very little, if anything, to do with protein, and doesn't use the word vegetables like at all. It's an if it fits your macros diet. So you can get tons of vegetables inside that ketogenic diet. Then you talk about lard and butter without referencing the sourcing of those lards or butter, without any reference to the fact that there are 2 essential fatty acids, omega-3 and omega-6, and that the proportions of those different acids are in different blends depending on how your animal was raised. Oh my God. Like, I just get your shit together, Mr. Easter. So some people lapse, and then it says, that short-term carbohydrate restriction can cause a 5 to 10 pound loss almost immediately of water loss. We've talked about glycogen depletion, the water loss that comes with it. It's about 5 pounds. So about 700 grams plus 2 grams of water for the 700 grams of glycogens, 2,100 grams, which is 2 kilograms, 2.1 kilograms at 2.2 pounds per kilogram. That's like 5 pounds, right? Okay. Others, some lapse into it. Lapse into ketosis. I lapsed into ketosis. When they eat less than 20 grams of carbs a day. Others can go up to 50 grams. So you need to collect data and check your levels with a device. No, you don't. In fact, probably a waste of goddamn time. It's fun, interesting trivia if you want to waste your money on it. Or if you're a guy who does that on the internet, you should do it to prove things to folks that want to talk shit on the internet. Not that I typically respond a lot to trolls, but no, you don't. Just eat fewer carbs. Track it on a thing if you want to, or just know which foods you can eat and not eat, and eat to script, and you'll be in ketosis. You don't need a goddamn monitor. So, continuing, Mr. Easter, you don't need a fucking monitor. And then we're going to get in, the end of this is actually useful because it talks about some of the mistakes people make. And the things that they get tripped up by focusing on, that'll actually be informative to you other than making fun of Men's Health and this idiot. Searches for keto went up. He's blaming Joe Rogan's podcast. I'm sure that's the only reason. A modified version, 80% fat, 15% protein, and 5% carbs. Again, that's not even the most commonly quoted one on the internet, and that would be like a maintenance diet, not a weight loss diet. And also that's like a medical diet. That's what's known as a 4-to-1, right? So there's 4 grams of fat for every 1 gram of protein and carbohydrates combined. So that would be a 4-to-1 keto diet, which is a type of ketogenic diet. Again, it's within the realm of ketogenic diets, but now he's saying it's the modified version. No, it's one of the many versions, but again, ketogenic diet, anything that leads you into ketosis. Like I said, 1 spoonful of olive oil every day is a ketogenic diet. It's a dumb one. It's an insufficient one. It's one that will probably eventually give you scurvy and kill you, but it is a ketogenic diet. So like, it's a very broad, not all rectangles are squares, but all squares are rectangles, right? Basic shit, but you'd think. Keto cycling, going on and off, became a thing. People on keto often lack nutrients like vitamin C, magnesium, and fiber. I mean, fiber's not a nutrient, but people do neglect fiber, I guess. I would agree there. And magnesium is one of the things I tell people to supplement. He's like in the ballpark. It's like an electrolyte. Vitamin C is not deficient, whatever. At this point, he's so down the rabbit hole. Which brings us back to Lopez. Does keto work for weight loss? In the short term, yes, but weight loss effects are primarily driven by the suppression of appetite, which in turn regulates calorie intake. In the short term, yes, but the weight loss effects are primarily driven by the suppression of appetite, which in turn regulates calorie intake. That's the point, right? Like, when you limit what you eat, weight loss usually comes down to eating less. That is true. You know what makes eating less more comfortable? Being less hungry. Not being hungry all the time. Fewer cravings. Feeling full. Eating your fiber. Maybe. Getting proper nutrition. That's the point. Like, he got it, right? No, he keeps writing. Consider the results of an influential study in JAMA. It found no significant amount of difference in weight loss in 1 year between people that ate low-fat diet and those on a low-carb diet. But the study's results suggested an important factor about diet's individual preference. Some people lost 65 pounds, other people on the same diet gained 20. I'm going to guess that wasn't a metabolic ward feeding study where they controlled their calories. I'm going to guess that was self-reported. People saying they ate that diet, and they didn't because they gained 20 pounds. I mean, I don't know why he thinks that study is, like, important, but the truth is calorie deficiency is going to get you there either way. If I starve you in a cage, it's not that you didn't get enough fat to lose weight. You're going to starve. You're going to get thin. I could just hook you up with a hamster bottle of water and watch you get skinny. You don't need a particular amount of fat, and that would be a low-carb and low-fat diet. And during the weight loss phase, ketogenic diets are kind of low-carb and low-fat, so it is a low-carb diet and a low-fat diet. I don't know. Grayson Lopez is down now 12 months into his keto journey. Good for Grayson, right? This whole article, like, utilizes this dude as a pawn. He's down 50 pounds. His friend, meanwhile, bailed after 3 months when a cross-country move made it hard to stay on keto. Here's where we're going to get to the meat for those of you that are still watching and are like, all right, I know that men's health is trash, but tell me something I can use, right? Why am I here? The thing is, you can't cheat or it knocks you out of ketosis. He prepares his meals at home. A go-to is steak topped with butter and asparagus spears. Asparagus thought we had to strictly limit vegetables. Lopez plans on sticking to his diet even though it makes him the picky asshole in social settings. And in the conclusion was that the best diet is whatever diet works for you and keto works for me. Okay. This dude that's worried about getting knocked out of ketosis, don't be. You can get knocked out of ketosis. If you keep yourself away from those goddamn strips and the blood testing kits, you'll never know if you're in ketosis. You might feel a little better and worse. Your energy might pick up and go a little bit. And it's interesting that somebody physiologically knows why your energy is picking up and dropping off a little bit. And if it bothers you, you can be particular about what you eat. But you don't have to be in ketosis all the time to lose weight. It's a hunger suppression type thing. If you don't want to be that picky asshole in social settings, eat the fucking food. Okay? Just eat yourself some fries. Go for it. Have a tortilla. Get yourself a quesadilla. Eat something on bread. If you're especially in like a work setting, you're out with your boss, you don't need to like take your, fuck everybody that worries about how you eat, right? So everybody should, in a perfect world, keep their eyes on their own plate. And if you want to take the bun off your hamburger, nobody should be asking you about it and saying, well, why don't you eat the bun? But let's say that your boss is a heavier dude who loves carbs and you don't want to have this conversation. Eat the bun. Do it. You're going to have lower energy and increased cravings for pretty much the remainder of the day. That's it. You're not going to gain all the weight back. Like, there isn't 20 pounds in a closet that's going to ambush you, right? You may get that water bloating he's talking about, but that's it. It's still just the calories of the bun. Go for a goddamn walk, right? If you want to eat your grandma's carrot cake, do it. And then go for a goddamn walk. You move across the country, you can't stay perfectly in ketosis. Eat just lower carb in general. Have yourself grilled chicken on top of a salad. They sell that fucking everywhere in America. Oh, I would like the grilled chicken salad. You don't even need to look at the menu. They have it everywhere. It's the will to lose weight or not. You know? Do you have to stay in ketosis? Do you need to prick your finger? Do you need a goddamn strip? No, you don't need any of those things. This is KetoDick, and as a reminder, one of the most important, significant factors about whether or not people lose weight and keep weight off is whether or not they check in with somebody. It's the number one factor that Obama's review on the health criteria for America, when they went to do Obamacare and they said, what's the greatest predictor of weight loss? And they said, checking in with somebody about their weight regularly was the greatest determining factor. So if you don't want to pay me, that's fine. Find a friend. We have the Accountability Buddy program in Keto Basic, my private group, right? And then, a spouse, a friend, somebody in town, you guys can swap meals and meal plan together. They'll do one meal, you'll do one meal, and when you see each other on Wednesday, you give them 3 portions, they give you 3 portions, right? Or for $960, sign up before I get to 50 clients, and I will chase you around personally for 15 months, and I'm only taking 50 people. So I'm going to be real focused on those 50 people. It's $960 up front. You have to make a commitment to your health, and I will be there for you for 15 months to help you achieve your goals or maintain what you've already lost, right? Because I'm a sensible guy who can help you respond to your relatives when Men's Health decides to throw trash onto the internet and you have to deal with it. Now, it's going to be exciting today. We're going to do a KetoDick cooking broadcast right after this one, and I'm going to show you guys how you spend way too much time on meal prep and how meal prep and cooking keto does not have to be hard. So, and that one's also going to be a little bit more fun. I got a little animated because this guy is a health author. Theoretically, this is his fucking job. This is what he turned in at work. He didn't get the definition of the subject right. I want you to write an article about keto. All right, I should probably look up what that is. I guess it's you can't have protein or eat vegetables. I'm gonna waddle into work today and put in this article. Can't eat no vegetables, gotta watch protein. Keto. What kind of idiot? 6% protein, 4%? Dude, get a new job. Write for somebody else. Go get an article about the Kardashians or something, because you should not write about people's health. And now all these people that were doing a good job, losing weight, feeling better about their health, some of them are going to read this trash. And they're going to buy into your crap. And they're going to be worried about the diet they're on being less healthy because they're eating less corn and potatoes, and as the article aptly puts out, ramen and Hot Pockets. So stay safe out there. Supplement every day with Hot Pockets and Totino's pizza rolls to keep away your hot pocketitis so that Mr. Easter can keep you safe, because that's the kind of person you want guiding your health. Or if somebody sent you this dumb article, I hope they're watching this video. I hope you watched it to the end. Understand I don't hate you, but you need to read stuff with a more critical eye, because this article was garbage. Garbage. Just a hot tip. Go to Google Scholar, or when you Google things, add PubMed at the end and just read studies. In a study, they're going to have to tell you everything they did in the prescription of the study, because it needs repeatability, right? So if they tell people, don't eat vegetables, it will be in there, right? And they don't say that. And when they say, don't have 100 grams of protein, they don't say that, except in studies you'll see where they're talking about people for epilepsy. And yes, in everything in medicine, you have to consider what are the side effects, right? If you take an aspirin, it has a risk to your health, but it helps you with some pain relief, yada, 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 right? If your side effect is you drop to the floor and have a grand mal seizure, you lose control of your body, you have a potential for traumatic head injuries as you go to the ground, than eating a diet that's really stilted towards fat and low in protein. Like, a protein deficiency isn't your problem. It's that you might need to wear a football helmet because you're epileptic, right? So yes, epileptics in ketosis have a different diet than probably you should if you're just trying to look good in your bathing suit this weekend, right? So that's kind of one of the reasons a ketogenic coach can help you, because you can't look up how to do the ketogenic diet, because 1 grain of rice a day is a ketogenic diet. Egg fasting is a ketogenic diet. 1 tablespoon of olive oil a day is a ketogenic diet. There are lots and lots and lots of ketogenic diets, and most of them are dumb because they're an infinite way to compose dumb ketogenic diets. However, ketosis can be a neat little perk and part of a low-carb weight loss strategy, which is what you should be focused on. I am KetoDick, and Men's Health is Trash. Mr. Easter, I welcome a debate. Please, somebody tag that dude, send him this video. I'm going to send him this video. Dude, your article's trash. Your magazine's trash. Your editor should be embarrassed. And if your editor wants a better article, ask me. If you tell me my article is going to go in Men's Health, I'll get quotes from Joe Rogan and Dom D'Agostino and Stephen Finney, and I'll get them to defend their honor against your counterintuitive, illogical, trash article that now the rest of us losing weight are going to have to put up with. But it was excellent fodder for this morning's video, so thank you so much for being bad at your job. It makes my job so easy, and I love it, right? Write another follow-up trash article, please. Please make it that easy to pick apart. I love being snotty to people that are arrogant and wrong, right? So, because I'm arrogant, and nothing's better than taking somebody like me down, right? So like this dude, he's all like, oh, the fad diet, no, you're not allowed to eat vegetables. Wrong. Bye, guys, and I'll see you shortly for my cooking broadcast. We're going to do some meal prep together. Love you.